I had a lot of negative ideas of like what a software developer was. I thought they were, just like the stereotypical stuff, like, antisocial, but which is totally not the case. Like all those stereotypes are so stupid. I worked at those kind of jobs for like 3 years, but I remember every time I'd show up to my shift, I'd be like, I hate this job. It's like so mind numbing, right? And it's so like, I feel so unfulfilled. I want to do something with computers, man. I really want to do something with computers.
Welcome to episode 9 of Sharing Developer Stories hosted by Tech Rally. Today's guest is Kenny Gunderman, a full-time mobile developer and content creator on YouTube. Hey everyone, welcome to the Sharing Developer Stories hosted by Tech Rally. I got a big guest for you today. He's been breaking the YouTube algorithm with his content related to coding and really brings a super entertaining vibe to his channel. He is also a professional Android developer. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Kenny Gunderman. Hey Kenny, how are you doing?
What's going on, my man? Thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure. Your content is
Yeah,
awesome.
likewise, and I really
Yeah.
appreciate that as well. Can you just give us a quick intro about yourself and how you got into software development?
Yeah, and I don't know, am I breaking the YouTube algorithm? If it feels like I'm not, but I mean,
Oh, you're just too humble, man. I've seen your stats. You have about 30 videos and you have 30,000 subs. So for every video that you have 1,000 subs. That's pretty amazing, I would say.
yeah, when you put it like that, that's kind of wild. But
No.
but yeah, man, I am a software engineer. I've been coding professionally for 5 years since I was 20. I got my first job or first internship, and I started a YouTube channel. I started technically 2 years ago, August of 2018. I made a handful of videos, didn't really gain any traction, kind of took a break, and then I came back with a different mindset, and here I am.
Cool. And you said you mentioned that you're a self-taught developer, or how did you get into software
Oh
development
yeah.
again?
So yeah, I took a few programming classes in high school. I was exposed to coding in my teenage years. I never really took it seriously though. So so that's kind of how I got exposed to coding. My dad is actually a software developer, so it was always like in my mind. He actually recommended that I take a Visual Basics class in high school, which I did, and I had a lot of fun. I took a Java class in high school too. But when I enrolled into college, I actually I wanted to be in the IT realm because I was on the computer all the time as a kid. I was playing games. I was like, all right, video games, computers, same thing,
Hmm.
right? So at first, it was between networking and programming. And for a variety of reasons, I chose networking because one, I didn't really think I was the smartest kid. I didn't do the best in high school. So I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't do programming. And also, too, I had a lot of negative ideas of like what a software developer was. I thought they were, just like the stereotypical stuff, like,
Right, right.
antisocial, but which is totally not the case. Like all those stereotypes are so stupid. Because the stereotype I had in my head is just I've never met a software developer like that. But anyways, I chose networking at first, and then after being in college for about a year, I found a group in my community known as the Coding Club. My sister actually recommended me to them, and it kind of re-sparked my interest in coding again. And I started working on my own side projects. I networked with a bunch of people, and then I found my first internship with coding, and it's kind of how I got back into it. But yeah, I consider myself self-taught, but because I started college, I only took one coding class, but this was when I had already pretty much taught myself, the basics of programming. It was like an intro to programming. It was like a C++ class, but I actually dropped out of college when I got my first full-time offer, and we can talk about that a little later. So that's why I consider myself a self-taught developer, if that makes sense.
Got it, got it. And when you were a self-taught developer, or through your self-taught developer journey, I'm sure it wasn't easy for you. Like, how did you coming up with your own curriculum and game plan and whatnot? Did the coding club really help with that?
Yeah, man. It was pretty natural, not gonna lie. So like I said, I took the classes in high school. It was like Visual Basics. I actually in high school I ran a Minecraft server that was pretty popular. From like by the time I was from 15 to 17, I ran a Minecraft server, and like I hosted a website, and I did very little things related to coding. So like it wasn't anything too crazy, but just like small like JavaScript stuff for my website. And Minecraft plugins were made in Java, so like I had a little bit of exposure there. So I did that in high school. I also took, like I said, the Java class and Visual Basics class in high school. But when I enrolled in the coding club, I was like, what are some projects I can work on?
Hmm.
And I was like, you know what? I want to revisit this Minecraft server thing and make my own custom plugins in Java. So I followed a bunch of like Minecraft plugin tutorials on YouTube. I also became really obsessed with parallax scrolling websites for some reason. I thought they were like the coolest thing ever. So I made a few of those. They were really crappy, by the way. And then from there, I just through networking through this coding club, I got hooked up with a program at my community college that helped tech majors network with tech companies around the area. And through that program, through networking, I found my first internship.
That's amazing. And when you were you maybe were you how many years in were you in college at that point? 2 years, a year,
When I found my first
eight?
internship,
Right,
okay, yeah, I was, let's see, about a year and a half,
year and a
I'd say.
half. Okay.
Yeah.
Was it a pretty difficult decision to do the internship or just continuing this IT uh, curriculum that you originally signed up for with college, or was it pretty no brainer for you at this point?
Oh, it was a no-brainer. I mean, I did the internship, I was still going to class. So, I
Got it.
mean, okay, so I did pretty poorly in high school, for a variety of reasons, mostly because when I first started high school, I was like a really self-conscious kid. And I
Hmm.
just hated, like most high school students, right? Like almost every high
Hmm.
school student is like self-conscious. I did really
Right.
poorly my first like 2 years of high school. And then after that, I was like, all right, I really need to get my shit together. Like,
Hmm.
so I started doing a little bit better, and then I enrolled into community college, and I was like, okay, in community college, I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to study really hard. And I did. And I got really good grades. I actually transferred to Michigan State University. So the goal was to get a CS degree, was to get a computer science degree
Got it. Got it.
the whole time. I'm sorry, I take that back. I started with networking. And then when I found the coding club, I found my first internship. That's when I was like, okay, I want to
I'm gonna
become
switch to programming.
yeah, I'm going to switch to programming. So I transferred to Michigan State University, and the goal was to get a computer science degree. So I took a few classes there. But yeah, when I got my first internship, it was a no brainer to take it, right? So
Right.
and it was a lot of fun. It was probably like out of my whole career, the very first dev job that I got was like the most exciting because it was so new. You know.
Right. But I mean, at the same time, sure, it still felt a little risky because a lot of college students they take internships, but they want to finish out their degree. How did you know that? Oh, this is my jam. This is my realm. I don't really need college at this point because I'm already kind of doing what I enjoy.
Yeah. So I didn't drop out while I was at the internship. The internship was only like 20 hours a week. So I was like, okay,
Oh,
I could,
okay, got it.
yeah. So I was like, okay, I could balance going to school and internship.
Hmm.
Um, but it wasn't until so at the end of my internship, I actually got reached out to by a recruiter. They're like, hey, this company in the area, they're hiring for Android developers, right? And the job description was like 3 to 5 years of experience, bachelor's degree. I was like, I probably won't get this job. I'm so underqualified. But part of me was like, let's just do it and let's get the interview experience. Like, let's just see what that's like interviewing for a real tech job. And I did it, and it turns out I was more than qualified because I'd learned a lot during my internship. I killed the interview, and they gave me an offer. And at this point, I have like this big boy full time offer. It wasn't a crazy amount of money, but for a 21-year-old,
Hmm.
I was like, and where I lived, I was like, okay, oh shit, like this is a pretty good amount of money.
Yeah.
Um, I was really excited about that offer. So that was a reason why I dropped out. But another reason too is I was going in like a lot of debt because coming from community college, I was paying virtually nothing to take
Right.
classes,
Right.
and I was just fucking racking up debt, man. And
Hmm.
I remember I was like, okay, like I probably have like 2 3 years left at college because my first year at community college, those credits didn't transfer to the college I was going to, so I was like, okay, I got to go here like 2 or 3 more years. It's probably gonna cost me like another 60 grand.
Hmm.
Um, I really wasn't enjoying it because I didn't feel like I fit in at all. I didn't have that traditional college experience, like, go in freshman year, go to a dorm, make friends, make all those connections. Like
Right.
part of me wishes I could have had that. But I
Right.
didn't but I didn't. I felt really out of place there. Like I had
Right.
friends, but it was a weird experience. And I remember going to class and just like feeling maybe I should have stuck it out. I don't know. Um, but yeah, I remember feeling just like so out of place. I was going into a lot of debt and I had this full-time job offer and I loved programming.
Right.
I wanted to do that all day. So I was like,
Right.
you know what? I'm 21. If it doesn't work out, I can always go back to college, right? I'm going to try to just do this on my own. And so
Right.
far it's worked out. So,
Yeah, I mean, a few things to pick off from there. I think the first thing is it definitely is a lot harder to transfer from community college to any type of college,
yeah.
not only academically, but just a pure, to your point about that freshman, everyone's kind of joining in
Exactly.
at the same time. But by
Exactly.
then, you just feel like everyone's kind of already made friends. So, how do
Yeah.
you kind of build that community within the college? And then the second thing is the debt. It's really hard to enjoy college sometimes when you're financially aware of how much you're spending. So
Yeah.
I think that's a super important point. For me personally, I think why I chose when I was at a crossroads of whether I wanted to go to grad school after working for 3 years or doing a coding bootcamp school, I I was kind of looking at a pure financial perspective and time where I said, okay, if I just, yeah, $12,000 is a lot of money.
Mhm.
But if I could be a software developer after 3 months of school, that's going to be so much better than 2 years of potentially computer science masters. And like, who knows where I'll be by then, like how much technology has changed. So I just said, if I don't end up being a software developer, at least I didn't waste 2 years of my time. So I totally
Yeah.
understand how you feel about that mindset of like, hey, I have a job offer and I have debt. Might as well just take this offer and like let's see where we go from here. So that
Did
makes
you
sense.
did you transfer from community college?
I did not. I
Okay.
did. I actually graduated, a 4 year degree, and but
Mhm.
weirdly enough, I don't even use that degree in my in my everyday job. Like the coding bootcamp was actually the hard technical skills that I was able to attain to become a software developer. So
Yeah.
when I worked 3 years after I graduated, I literally forgot everything I learned during school. So any job I applied to, they were just telling me that, hey, you don't have the technical skills to work at this company. And that's when I
Hmm.
realized I need to do something a little bit different. That's
So
kind of why
what was your major again?
I was in mechanical engineering.
Okay.
So it's one of those degrees where you kind of learn a lot of different things, but you don't
Yeah.
really become a master at anything.
Mm.
So on top of that, I went into like the semiconductor business, and essentially I just learned how to become a good semiconductor process engineer. But I
Yeah.
didn't if you don't want to be in that field anymore, you can't
Yeah.
just apply to Boeing, or you can't apply to it's like asking a software engineer to suddenly, I don't know, like start working on like physics or like working at Tesla building like the aerodynamic stuff. Some
Got
people
you.
just think the word engineer applies to everything, but it
Got
really
you.
doesn't work that way. So, but
Interesting.
yeah, I totally get it. I totally that makes sense. And I actually watched your video about kind of like your regrets and the whole. I think one few of the things that you did mention in our call right now is that you actually shared it in your videos. And one of the questions I did want to ask you later, but I'll just ask you now, is
Yeah.
that at work, I'm pretty sure you are a significant contributor, but you probably didn't always feel this way, maybe even at the internship. Uh, you talk about knowing your worth and knowing your value.
Yeah.
How has that mindset shifted your way of thinking and how you view your coding career?
Hmm. That's a good question, man. Well, yeah. So the thing is with tech, like over time, like especially when first starting out, your value goes up exponentially. Like you probably experienced this. Like from my
Mhm.
first internship making $12 an hour to where I'm at now, it's like, more it's like five times the amount
Night
I
and
make.
day, yeah.
Right, right. And your value goes up significantly. So it's important to recognize that. Like in tech, after about a year, like you know enough. Maybe you don't feel like you know enough, but if you feel like you're like 50% ready to take on a new job, you just got to go for it, right? Just got to go for it, apply. and just throw yourself in the deep end. But as that relates to knowing your worth, don't I guess I wouldn't settle for a very long period of time. So I think you should absolutely do what you got to do to get your foot in the door, right? To get
Hmm.
that initial experience, to get that initial velocity. But don't get too comfortable and don't stay at that job that's not necessarily maybe giving you what you think you're worth, or maybe treating you right, or you know what I'm saying.
Right.
Um, so recognize that and don't be afraid to jump ship, I guess. Did that answer your question? Sorry if I
Yeah, it
kind of.
definitely did. No, I completely agree. And maybe we fall into this older mindset of you just appreciating what you have, or maybe
Mhm.
always undervaluing your skills, or we always assume that 3 to 5 years of experience or 5 to 10 years of experience, you could technically work 10 years as a developer, but only know one old technology for a really
Yeah,
long time.
yeah,
But does that make you somehow 10x of another developer that spent a crap ton of time within those first 2 years becoming an awesome developer, right? Yeah, they
yeah.
may know like a few patterns here and there, but I really think it's one of those tangible skills where if you actually put in the work, it's really gonna show in the output side. Like you don't need to have 5 years of experience. If you could do the same thing within 2 years, as long as you put in the effort, I think
Mhm,
that's what really matters the most. But some people, they don't realize how much they're actually learning while they're on
mhm.
the job. So
Yeah,
they're just like very content with, to your point, like the $12 to $15 an hour, or maybe you're like making like the 50 grand, but you should be making like 70 or 80 grand depending on your actual skill set, right? But
yeah,
companies, they're not gonna always be clamoring to give you more money,
yeah.
right?
And
So
I mean, they shouldn't, right?
right,
It should be your responsibility to figure
right,
that out.
right,
And like yeah, companies are for profit at the end of the day, and
right.
they shouldn't be coming to you and being like, hey, like you're definitely worth $100,000. Like we
Hmm.
should pay you more, right? So you definitely need to take it upon yourself and figure that out. You
I
know.
Yeah, I completely agree. And this is nothing against companies. I think it's just an understanding, having that self awareness about your
Ah,
own career and your own
yeah,
career trajectory is super important. And
absolutely, man.
that's something that I've actually do a lot of mentoring with my junior developers is,
Okay.
hey, you're a great developer and don't ever
Right.
undersell yourself. Like you should always figure out what value you have within the market. And
Mhm.
if it's below if your salary is below what that average is, then you should start asking questions, or maybe even have these honest conversations with your company. And it doesn't have to be contentious. It just can be something like, hey, look, I've been able to contribute X, Y, and Z for 2 years, and my current salary is this, and the market median or average is this. I would really love to get closer to that number. Like, how do we get to that number? Like, these can be just very casual or honest conversations that you could have. That way, it doesn't have to be contentious. But if they're not willing to budge, then there's nothing wrong with looking for new opportunities. I think a lot of software developers do that anyway. So,
Yeah, I totally agree. And a lot of software developers recommend to just jump ship if you really
mhm.
want to get that raise. But something I did at my first full time job, and I don't necessarily think that everybody should do this, but sorry, there's a lot of noise happening out there.
No worries.
But at my first job, can you hear that?
No, I don't think so.
It's like dogs barking and shit. I'm so sorry.
No
Um,
worries.
Um, so yeah, my first full-time job, I really enjoyed that company. I actually learned probably the most I'd ever learned as it comes to like how to correctly make software and like writing tests against your code and how to architect your code and how to be efficient. Like I had some great mentors at this company. I met some really awesome people. I still keep in touch with them today. um, I really loved that company, but I had that feeling that I was being undervalued, right? And naturally, recruiters reached out to me for new jobs. It's like, it feels like I'm kind of like cheating on my company here if I do this, right?
Yeah.
But I just did it anyways. And I interviewed at a few places, and I got an offer at Ford, right? For like it was like 85 to 90K a year. But I would have had to relocate and move to this place, and I didn't really want to do that, but like the offer was really enticing, so I was like maybe kind of willing to do it. But I actually went in, I sat down, I pulled in my two managers. I won't ever remember that day because I was so anxious. I pulled in my two managers. I was like, hey guys, like, I love the company here. I think, I think I've contributed a lot. Basically everything that you just said,
Hmm.
right? And then on top of that, because a lot of companies, like if you go in and you say that, they'll be like, okay, like we'll reassess in X months. But I
Yeah.
had this extra level of anxiety or pressure, and I said, "Hey, like I have this other offer, but I want to stay here." And they gave me a pretty big raise, man, and
Yeah.
definitely, I was happy with it. So just don't be afraid to just take risks and do those really uncomfortable things, man. And that's the
Right.
only way
Right.
to go. So
I think that's the point of the story is some people are just so focused on avoiding conflict or not having that, they don't want to have that uncomfortable conversations, but to be
yeah,
honest, the uncomfortable conversations are what actually gets you ahead.
yeah, yeah.
And I mean, personally, I've been at I was at my old company for 5 years, and people ask me like,
Oh, damn.
why would you stay at a company for 5 years? Your salary increases must be garbage or whatever. But actually it wasn't, because I understood my own value and I
Okay.
showed it to my company and I expressed it to my company many, many times. And they always were able to like meet me, maybe sometimes halfway, sometimes more than halfway. It was just an honest conversation that I would do periodically. And if it, if they didn't meet those expectations, then I would probably would have stayed as long as I have. But, like maybe they got me at a discount at an earlier time. And then during that time, I actually really upped my skills and I really showed it through my projects and whatnot. And then after a while, like, yeah, that's why I'm okay with having conversations with managers about these things, because I don't like, I'm on the boat where I don't want to feel like I'm working as hard as I can the whole year, but I don't have a conversation with my boss beforehand and they give you a salary increase of
Yeah,
whatever that you're not happy with. And then
yeah.
you really can't complain because you never expressed it
Mm,
during the one-on-ones or whatever, that like, hey, this is my expectation, this is what I want, how do we get to that level? Like this, like, you sometimes you need to manage the manager essentially
mm.
to be like, hey, this is my goals, these are my goals, and this is what I want, like how do we get there? And they say no, then you're like, okay, like maybe we need to start reevaluating some new things as well. So
That's really good advice, man. Do you have a video on that?
I do not, maybe I'll make one.
That's some really good advice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I
Yeah.
need to take some of that too.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But I was gonna ask, like, obviously, and maybe we already kind of answered this, but if you have anything else to add, I was gonna say that obviously everyone's story is a little bit different, and it really depends on how much you like really focus on improving yourself when you're employed as a software developer. But when do you think that aha moment comes when you're like, oh my god, I should be worth more? Is it when you're talking to recruiters? Is it when you're at work, or is it when you're talking with
Yeah.
coworkers and you're like, wait, how much you making? Or like, when did you come to that aha moment?
I didn't realize it for like ma- I was in a place where I was like happy where I was just happy writing code at like my
Hmm.
very first coding job. Um and everybody that I worked with there, they were really cool and nice and easygoing. But I didn't really recognize it until like recruiters reached out to me. Actually, until I got an offer.
Right.
I got two offers around the same time. Um, one for like 55K total, and then one for like 60K total, and which might not seem like a lot, right? But where I was from in like
Hmm.
the middle of Michigan, like cost of living was low. Like that was a
Way
good
lower,
amount of
yeah.
money. It was a good amount of money. And way more than I was making at my job. So I didn't realize it until I actually interviewed, and I kind of went into the interviews like not really expecting much. And maybe that's
Mhm.
why I was so calm like during the interviews, cuz like in the past in the past I would get really nervous, man. Dude, I swear.
Ignorance is bliss. Like if you didn't know
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
you're gonna get, yeah.
Absolutely. And so my very first, so I mentioned that I was studying networking at first. So
Hmm.
one thing I failed to mention is like when I was in high school and in college, I worked these really shitty jobs that I hated. And
Hmm.
nothing against these jobs, but they were just like very labor intensive and very mind numbing, like stocking shelves, cleaning, just like, and they paid minimum wage. They fucking
Right.
sucked.
Yeah.
Sorry if my language, but
Maybe we'll bleep it out. I have no idea.
uh, they sucked, man. And
Yeah.
nothing against people who work at those jobs. Like I'm every time like I go to a grocery store, I go to a service job, I'm like, thank you so much. Like this job is hard. Like
Really.
I'm
Yeah.
very, very grateful for those people because I've been there and I realize like how much it sucks. Um, anyways, I worked at those kind of jobs for like 3 years, but I remember every time I'd show up to my shift, I'd be like, I hate this job. It's like so mind numbing, right? And it's so like I feel so unfulfilled. I want to do something with computers, man. I really want to do something with computers. And I like I said, I was studying networking at the time, so I applied for a networking, like a junior networking position and a help desk position, both part time. And I went to these interviews. I was like so anxious. I was like, I just really want this job. Like, please, please, please. Like saying a prayer, like, God, please give me this, and I will. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. And I remember just being so anxious going into those interviews and like thinking of the outcome. Like, if I would get this job, then my life would be so good. And I just totally bombed those interviews, man, because I went in with an agenda and I expected something from it, and when I got rejected, I was devastated. I'm
Right.
happy. I'm happy I got rejected because I'm happy that I didn't get into networking.
Right.
But when I interviewed at these places, like I really didn't understand. I was like, I'm just gonna do this to test the waters, to get the experience. I was pretty chill, and it ended up working out.
Right. I was actually going to ask you if you had any tips for self-taught developers starting off, but maybe even just what you said about self-taught developers or anyone just trying to get these interviews. I think sometimes they're their own worst enemies where they're so nervous and it really shows during the interview
Yeah,
process.
absolutely.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, you tell me, like, when they asked you these technical questions, did you come in fully like memorizing all these algorithms or whatnot? Because I'm on the boat, is like, I'm on the side of where I say I can't memorize everything. So I'm just going to try to understand as many concepts as I can. And hopefully I can just adapt to whatever the question is. But sometimes newer developers, they always try to come in with everything pre-memorized, but you
Mhm.
don't even know what questions they're going to ask you. So like, what's your mindset when going into those interviews?
On the technical side, like so for, I mean, I've had some pretty rigorous technical interviews,
Hmm.
right? But for like the jobs that I mentioned, those junior jobs, uh, the my very first job, my technical interview was just like technical questions about Android development. And the second one was again technical questions about iOS development. I showed them like apps I worked on, and then a very very basic coding question. So like
Hmm.
those are my two entry level jobs. The coding, but these weren't for like FANG companies. These weren't for big tech companies, right? These were just like your average Joe, just like normal companies, because every company needs a programmer, right?
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, for like those higher level companies, you absolutely need to study for those technical interviews. But I'll say this, you know, when you're, I don't consider myself like an exceptional developer by any means. Like, I recognize my strengths, I recognize my weaknesses. I understand that, like, I'm pretty decent with people. And if I can go into an interview and, like, just make them laugh or get along with them, like, that shows. Like, at the end of the day, they're just people and they just want to work with someone who's easy to work with. Like you can be an average dev, but like you kill it in your behavioral interview, like there's a good chance you might get an offer unless you just completely bomb the technical interview, right? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and that's been the case for a lot of interviews that I've done, right? I really try to play my strengths, um, and that's something to recognize. So also too, like if you're an exceptional dev, right, and you can solve every technical question that's given to you, but you're not very personable, like people don't like you're arrogant, or people like don't want to work with you, then or you show that in your interview, then you probably won't get the offer. So I guess just take it easy, recognize that they're just people too, like try to crack a joke. I mean, I don't know, that's what works for me. So
Right, right. And I think what you're emphasizing here is the soft skills during the coding interviews, because I think, especially in such a highly technical field called software engineering, we
mhm.
we focus so much on the technical preparations that sometimes we don't realize how important the soft skills are. Because you're
Yeah.
not just going to be only talking to software engineers; you're going to be talking to the hiring managers. You might be talking to product managers during these interviews, and if you're not able to articulate how you work with people or whatnot, then yeah, there are times where I know a lot of people they fail their interviews because of their soft skills, not because of their technical skills. So
Exactly.
I'm really glad that you emphasized that point. I do have one question about your kind of background. Did you always start off or did you start off in mobile development? And
I
is that
didn't.
something? Oh, cool. So would that be something you would recommend for a new developer that's trying to learn how to code to start off in mobile development, or is it better to start off in like web development and then kind of transition into mobile development?
So the thing is with web development, for example, if I were to learn iOS development, when you download Xcode, you pretty much have everything you need out of the box to
Hmm.
make simple apps,
Hmm.
right? But with web development, you kind of have you have HTML, CSS, JavaScript, you know what I mean? Like all these different
All that stuff.
languages.
Yeah.
Yeah. But with that being said, I don't think one is easier than the other. I definitely don't think mobile is easier than web. I think they're pretty equal. I
Hmm.
actually started with web. My first internship, I was under the interpretation that I was going to be a web dev. So like the month before I started that, I got the offer and then it was a month in between. I like studied my ass off for web dev. Like I
Hmm.
learned as much about it as I could because I wanted to show up and be able to like crush it. And I got in and I did do a little bit of web dev stuff. And then they threw me on a mobile project, right? And I kind of had to figure it out from there. And I remember struggling so much with mobile dev at the time, but I really think my knowledge with web dev definitely helped me. Like when you
Right.
learn one programming language, when you learn how to develop software one way, those skills transfer over. People are always like, "What's the best language to learn? Should I learn JavaScript, PHP?" Like it doesn't matter, man. Just like pick one, and once you learn how to program with that language, like you can transfer that knowledge across any language. And that's
Right.
kind of how it
Right.
was when transitioning from web to mobile. Um,
Right. Right.
but I
That
don't think,
makes sense.
yeah, I don't think one is easier than the other. I think they're pretty equal. I think they're both great options. There's a lot less mobile jobs though, so you got to keep that in
Right.
mind. Part of the reason why I'm in a bigger area, a bigger city, is because there's more opportunity for mobile devs. So
Right. And I just, for newer developers, I have a hard time recommending mobile as a first option just because it's harder to present your projects
ah,
unless you're physically next to them. Because how are they going to download your application? Because you have to kind of
true,
get it approved by the Apple Store, unless
true.
you have that, what is it, the developer store or whatever. But you have to
Uh,
keep updating your app every 30 days or something
yeah.
like that. So,
There's like
yeah.
test flight you can roll out to beta users or something, but
Right, right. But what are the like? Is you gonna get a recruiter to download that test flight application? That's always gonna be a little
yeah,
tough.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well,
yeah.
I do have a few apps on the App Store, or maybe only one now. Yeah.
But I think this is kind of like a perfect segue into like maybe just talking about your YouTube channel, which I'm a huge fan of, and literally it's like a fresh of breath air in the coding community because it's just so different. I really don't feel like I'm watching a coding YouTube channel. It just feels like I'm just watching a YouTube channel. So do you want to just share your channel and what it's about?
Yeah, and I love that you feel like that. I mean, I got a lot when I first started out YouTube. I got a lot of inspiration from. Is there carjacking going on?
Yeah. Welcome to New York City.
It's funny because do you know who Dave Portnoy is, the owner of Barstool Sports?
Yes, yeah.
I remember like like he was in Chicago and like he was at a pizza spot that I go to sometimes or I've been to, and like he was filming the video and like a carjacking happened while he was like testing the pizza. I don't know, it's pretty funny. Just
Wait, so did they like segue into the carjacking and stop showing the pizza part, or?
yeah, like so he does this series where he goes to all these pizza restaurants, and he went to this one in Chicago. And like while he was eating the pizza, like a carjacking happened right in front of him and got on camera. And
That's
I thought
so
it,
funny.
yeah, I thought it was funny because it's like a,
That
a,
probably got more views from the carjacking than the actual pizza part.
yeah, exactly. So, anyways, I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question again, man? I kind of got
Oh
off
yeah, I was
track.
no, I was just talking about how awesome your channel is, and we should
Okay,
move on from it. No, I'm kidding. I was talking about what is your channel about,
okay,
and well, yeah, maybe what was the inspiration behind it?
yeah. Well, when I first started my channel, like I got a lot of inspiration from like that tech. So around the 2018 era, like the tech YouTubers. Then I remember there was Chris Sean. he wasn't super popular, but he was pretty big. I remember I watched his channel, and he gave me a lot of inspiration. A guy named Josh Fluke. He made a lot of videos about dev at the time. Another guy named Sylvester Morgan. I don't think he's even on YouTube anymore. But I remember watching his channel, and then Jarvis Johnson too when he was making
More of a
videos about
coding YouTuber, yeah.
his style of like how he talked about coding and then added the jokes and skits. I have a couple videos where I do those skits and I copy him. I try to stop doing that after I found my own style, but I he inspired me a lot. So anyways, I wanted to go into make when I very first started, I wanted to go in and kind of just like inspire people that like they can be self-taught too, it's kind of cliche in my opinion. But like inspire, help, provide guidance, like just tell people my story, man, and
Hmm.
like my own way. And I did that for a while. My first like handful of videos are just I can't watch them because they're so cringy and I hate myself. Like when I watch them, man, it's just like
I mean, it's the same here, honestly. The video quality is such garbage
it,
and the sound
yeah.
just doesn't make sense, yeah.
I watch them. I'm like I want to just remove these so bad, but
No.
you keep them on because like one thing that I do, or when I started YouTube, I remember watching my favorite YouTubers and watching like their highest quality videos. And I was like, holy shit, like, how do these guys do it? They're so good. And then I would scroll all the way to the bottom and I'd watch their like first few videos and they're garbage. They're
Right.
so bad. The quality's bad. They're really awkward in front of the camera. It's like a nice reminder. Like when I keep those videos there because if anybody ever does come to my channel, they can be like, "Wait, this guy's like really awkward and weird and his camera presence is so off." So
Right.
I keep him on there for that. It's like it's an interesting progression. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. But honestly, even your first video to your second video, I could just already see, whoa, there's like a huge jump. I had to like spy on you a little bit before this
Bro,
call just to make sure
you went
I
that
knew what
deep.
else. I need to know what kind of questions to ask. So I had to watch your first and second video. And I was like, oh, wow. You could already see that small, but at the same time, significant improvement. And then it's like, oh, okay, this guy's learning from each one.
It's funny. It took me 3 videos before actually. I recorded, edited, I think like 3 videos before I posted my first one. And so
Mm,
I posted a couple and I removed them. Like I hated myself so much when I first started YouTube,
right.
right? But I had to keep reminding myself like everybody starts here. Everybody
Right.
starts here.
Right.
And now it's a lot easier, and I'm sure you can relate to that.
Right. So would you say a lot of your videos is more about kind of sharing your story, but also trying to help software developers find their reason why they should get into software development? Or is it just kind of just showing many different aspects and flavors of software development or maybe everything?
Yeah, so I have a few videos where I talk about tips and I talk about my experience, and then I have the
Hmm.
videos that come off like how I learned Flutter or React in 7 days,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
like the self-imposed challenged videos is what I kind of
Right. Right.
call 'em. I
I
do
really
that.
like that Upwork video, by the way. That was a really good one.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. That was very entertaining, which I really liked. Yeah.
yeah. I came up with that idea because like when coronavirus hit, everybody like Upwork was such a searched keyword, and
Hmm.
I didn't see very many videos about this. I was like, maybe
Mm,
I'll make a video about that and it'll do well, and it did pretty
yeah.
well. But
So you got like the tips video, the challenge videos, and other types of videos. Like, yeah, what is it? What do you think that encompasses as a whole?
I don't have a cadence, man. It's weird because like I go through these phases where like, okay, I want to give tips. Okay, I want to entertain people. Okay, I
Hmm.
want to make stupid comedy videos like the one that I just made. If you look back on my channel, you see some really dumb videos where I try like comedy videos that did really
Hmm.
poorly. But like I go through this cycle where it's like, all right, I want to be super serious. Okay, I don't want to be that serious. Okay, I want to like help people. And I don't really plan on changing that because that's how I enjoy YouTube. Like I just make whatever I want to make about my niche, right? About
Hmm.
software
Hmm.
engineering. Um, but that's kind of like that's why my videos are like seem so different. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right. No, but I like it. I like the change up because that's something that I've been trying to do, but at the same time, maybe I just don't have. I don't. Maybe I'm not making it a priority to try to bring that funny side of me or whatnot. Maybe I'm not even funny. Who knows? But I kind of found something where they're like people view me for my tips and tricks, but at the same time I try to bring the cinematography stuff, but it's
Mm.
so hard. It's so hard. And I wanted to ask you a bunch of these questions, like how long does it take for you to make each one, like one of these type of videos? Because
Oh
I know
man.
how long it takes me to make these videos, and I'm just talking in front of a camera. But for you, you're adding like B-roll, you're adding stuff where you're actually walking outside. I'm very curious who's taking all these videos for you, because you must have a really good friend or a robot or something. Because that's my major struggle with like trying to make those type of videos, is having someone to actually record me while doing it. But
Yeah.
yeah, how long does it take for you?
Yeah. So that's my girlfriend, Allison. She's very supportive. She's really helpful.
Oh, you
But
lucky man.
yeah,
In more ways than one,
yeah,
honestly.
yeah. She she's not super thrilled about it all the time. Like but she's a good sport, and
Right,
she
right.
she puts up with my crap, and she does it for me.
I mean, hopefully when she sees the output, she'll be like, "Yeah, I did that."
Yeah, yeah, she's happy. She's actually briefly shown in my Flutter video.
Hmm.
I do a promo and she's in it. Or I do a promo for the app that I made.
Mm.
But anyways, um I'm so sorry, man. What was the
How long did
question?
it take? Yeah, how long does it take?
um I get so I go off on these tangents and I end up just like rambling.
No, this is
And
super fun. I'm having a good time.
it takes some videos take me like so the video that I just posted, it's only 2 minutes long, but like I pretty much thought of that. Well, I had the idea, and then when I posted it, I think I posted it yesterday. Oh no, I made it. I made it Friday because I took Friday off because I just wanted to have a just day off of work. I took Friday off. I like came up with the idea, or I added on to the idea that I thought about a few months ago. I recorded it, edited it, made the thumbnail in a day. So like
Mhm.
some videos only take a day. That video probably took it was like 8 hours of effort. But the Flutter video, like I had to plan out the app idea that I wanted. I had to like record my progress, just all that stuff. Like that video total, if you count the time it spent like developing the app, I would say like 50 hours,
Dang.
which is it seems like way too much. But the thing is I really enjoy making those more hands-on videos. Like I
Yeah.
enjoy coding, I enjoy making new stuff. And I really wanted to explore that tech, so that was fun for me. Um,
Right. Right.
but if you want like a piece like so for me, I really dived into like okay, like getting like understanding the internals of my camera and like how to shoot B-roll and lighting and you know bit rate and f-stops and just all the stuff about using a camera. And I follow like uh YouTube channels, this guy named Daniel Schiffer. He's super fucking, or I'm sorry, God, I gotta stop sorry. He's super good at B-roll and cinematography, man. And
Hmm.
I just get so much inspiration from these videos. I'm like, cause coding on the surface, it's boring. Like, have you ever watched somebody code? Like, it's boring.
It's very boring. Yeah.
It's only fun when you're doing it. So
Right.
like, I wanted to add this extra level of like entertainment value. So like, that's how I kind of came up, or I didn't really come up with it. That's why I try to add like the cinematic stuff and really take the time to edit it because I want people to like enjoy it, when I'm talking about it. And maybe I don't get too technical, and I try to not get too technical because I want like the Flutter video. I had this whole part where I talked about like asynchronous programming and like using certain components, but like I remember watching and I'm like, if I was like new to this, I would probably click away by now.
Yeah.
So
Like,
I
what the heck are you talking about? Kind
yeah,
of thing. Yeah.
yeah. I try to have this real like I try to watch my video as if I were just like a person new to programming. Like I want like
Right.
maybe they can take away something from it, maybe they can learn something from it. Maybe they can clone the GitHub project and use
Right.
it for their class project. I don't care. You know? So,
Right. I mean, I think you're in this very unique industry of YouTube where it's like a coding channel, but at the same time, you're incorporating a lot of cinematography to it and B-roll to your videos. Where, as a majority of people that are on YouTube that are software developers and that have a coding channel, they just aren't interested in creating those beautiful
absolutely.
experiences. And that's why
Absolutely.
you could kind of see already in their videos, they don't have that kind of quality of the type of videos that you have, which I really appreciate as a consumer. But maybe on my end as a producer, it's
Yeah.
very hard for me to really, to your point, get into those details about like the camera quality, like doing those research on the
Yeah.
YouTube of finding other YouTubers that are into it.
Yeah.
So it's just, I mean, like it's your brain could only take up so much
Yeah.
knowledge. It's really up to you to decide like what is important to you and what's not. And I
I
think for
agree,
you,
man.
you found that kind of happy place of blending both things together, which I
Yeah.
find really, really entertaining. Yeah.
And you know what? There's nothing wrong. Like if you want to be a YouTube channel, like I don't think I'm the most informational channel. Like you shouldn't come to my channel if you're really like you can pick up on a few things, but like I'm not like doing coding tutorials and all that
Hmm.
stuff. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? I try to give tips about the industry, but
Hmm.
there's already so many phenomenal teachers out there that do like
I
coding
agree.
tutorials, and I don't think I could compete with them. I really don't. I
I
don't
agree.
think I could make a
Same.
course. You know,
Right.
but you have a lot of good advice just on the industry in general too, and that's very valuable. But I don't think there's anything wrong with not worrying about like focusing on the type of content versus like all the B-roll, because that shit doesn't matter. B-roll, all that stuff, that doesn't matter. What there's a saying in filmmaking, story is king. And your
Hmm.
story is like teaching people, giving advice. And that's what
Hmm.
people are showing up for. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right. I think I do agree with it. The story should speak for itself, but there's something about adding like the delivery of how you deliver even a speech. If you speak in a monotone way versus adding some emphasis, like put like stomping your like table or like busting out your hands or whatever.
Yeah.
There's just this layer of add-ons that you can do to optimize your videos, which I really appreciate when watching because I know how much time it would take. Well, I don't personally know the type of work involved, but I know it's going to take a lot of time to do something like that. So I really appreciate it. But I've seen your older content, I've seen your new content, and it's just night and day. And to
Yeah.
you, do you just see a lot of similarities with content creation to coding?
Oh, absolutely, man. I feel it's the same mental process for me. Um, like in terms of like making content.
Making content plus that video editing aspect of it, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I think
or
I
the whole
mentioned
shebang, yeah.
like I mentioned this earlier. It's very similar to like working on a new feature or
Hmm.
a new product. Like you have the vision in mind, and when you code, you want to make that vision come to life. So if you're building like a website, you have that vision in your head, right?
Hmm.
And you make out the UI designs, or you like write the code and you try to make that come to life. When you first start coding, that does not show. Like it's not you. It doesn't transfer. Maybe like 50%. Um, Same thing with content creation too. Like my first videos, I had all this idea and like transferring that to a video, it wasn't the same. I'm getting better and better, and it's still not 100%. Still not 100%, but I'm getting better and better. But anyways, the whole process of making a video is very similar to building a product where you have the vision, you break it down into smaller tasks or tickets. You approach it with a very analytical or logical mindset, right?
Right.
You break it up into subtasks. You say, okay, I'm gonna work on this piece here. I'm gonna work on this piece here, and you just layer onto it like that. So
Right, right. And I don't think people maybe ever appreciate the amount of effort it really takes to even be a content creator on YouTube because it actually does take so you were just saying, yeah, it only took me 8 hours, but 8 hours is quite a bit
yeah,
of long time to make for a video. And just like software development, I think sometimes people just aren't realizing that they want to be a software developer yesterday. They think that if I watch a Flutter video and learn it in 7 days, I could be a Flutter developer. No, I'm kidding. Just giving you a hard time with that one. But no, but it's I think there's a bit what your channel represents is a lot of patience and how you're able to kind of progress
Hmm.
from your first or second or third video to what you are now. It really is going from like a junior developer to a senior developer in my eyes, and I think it's really cool.
Yeah, and I took a break for a while too.
Mm-hmm.
And like if you go to my Social Blade stats, it's like nothing for like 2 years, and then all of a sudden just like for some reason people started
Yeah,
watching. But
yeah.
maybe I don't think I was ready to really take on YouTube yet, because like you said, you put in a lot of time to a content to making content, and I think you've probably experienced this because you're pretty decent size.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what do you have, 1.6 now?
Like 1.5 almost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Like you spend so much time making a video and then someone just comes in and there's shits all over it.
Yeah.
Like
Actually, my channel's not quite big enough for someone to crap on it yet. So that's a I think that's a rite of passage that I haven't quite got yet. But
that hasn't happened
I'll
to you yet? Oh man.
not. Oh, actually, no. I have a one video that's has horrible sound quality, horrible video quality, and I put you shouldn't read these books, and it's the you don't know JS books. I think I wrote like in my title like why you should not read you don't know JS books. A lot of people gave me a crap for that one, but
Like was it like what kind of crap?
they're just saying, "Oh, like why would you not recommend this? This is like the Bible or
Oh,
all
okay.
that stuff." But I was trying to come from the perspective of if I was a new developer, I would never want to read these books because they go so in depth
Yeah.
about like it's kind of if I had to relate to like cameras, like I just want to know how to take a picture, but you're telling me I need to learn about
Yeah.
like focuses and ISO and all that stuff. It's like why does it matter if I don't even know how to actually just click the button, right?
Yeah.
So that's how
Yeah.
I view the books. But sorry, I like went off on a segue. What were you gonna
Un-
say about negative comments?
oh, no, the whole point I was trying to make is like, yeah, like content creation, you spend so much time making a video and then someone
Hmm.
just comes in there, they just leave a shitty comment. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
you'll get to that point where like people just like just like really just crappy stuff like that makes you so upset or angry. But I've gotten to the point where like I'm used to it at this point. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
um, but
I
I mean, the fact that you haven't got like, I think you're doing good. I think a lot of people love you, and I think you know that.
Hopefully, I mean, it's something that there's a bit of imposter syndrome, and I see a lot of similarities with my own software developer journey, where it's, like I try to practice what I preach, where I don't compare with other people or other YouTubers. I'm in my own path, and the
Mhm.
only reason why I'm able to make content the way that I do is because, to your point, you have to actually enjoy this. Otherwise,
Absolutely,
it's
you go
you don't need
crazy, man.
yeah, you're gonna go crazy. So from that perspective, I really do appreciate everyone that does reach out to me, and a lot of bigger YouTubers have reached out to me and saying like,
Dude,
"Hey, you're really
yeah.
giving good advice and whatnot." So,
Like,
uh,
bro, you were on the. I chimed into the spaces. You use you coding phase. That Alex Leon,
Chris Lyon, yeah,
Chris Leon,
yeah,
Sorry.
Leon, I don't know, I'm not sure either.
Yeah. And like the fact that all these like the fact that these bigger creators are reaching out to you and like they want to talk to you means you're doing something right, man. You have a very chill personality. You're very easy to talk to, and also you're
Yeah,
very well spoken. I remember listening to how you answered some of those questions. I was like, damn, this guy's like he's really good at just like explaining things in a really awesome way. So
yeah, I really appreciate that. I mean, I was on Clubhouse for almost 3-4 weeks straight before Twitter Space because when I quit my job, I had I had so much time off, I had nothing else to do, and I learned from a lot of those people talking that they're so elegant, and so I just come out of stolen a few things from them as
oh,
well. So
maybe I need to do that. And you know what? That I kind of want to segue into how you asked me like the tips I would give new developers.
yeah.
The fact, so you just mentioned how like you learned from these guys and you applied it to your own way of
Hmm.
speaking, right? And I think my biggest piece of advice is like don't like imitate before you innovate, right?
Mm,
Something
mm,
I do with everything I learn, man. Just like find people who you look up to that you think are great, and especially with coding, like copy it, like copy the tutorials, just like, and slowly but surely it will start making sense. And eventually you need to add your own blueprint. Like you can't just copy people, and like don't like copy content and post it on the internet. But when you're
right,
first learning, it's
right.
okay to imitate, and then you can innovate. So that's my advice,
Right, and
basically.
that's kind of the same thing about the Cold Steel's Yelp camp that everyone talks about. Everyone has Yelp camp, but if you can
What is
copy
that?
that, so it's one of these courses that Colt Steele, which is an instructor, he has a Udemy course. A lot of people buy that course, and the project that you're making is this thing called Yelp Camp.
Okay.
I don't actually even know what the project is, but it's just some CRUD application, and everyone puts that Yelp camp on their portfolio, but if everyone has it, then what makes you so
Mm,
special? But to your point, you copy and then you adapt. Maybe you add
You
instead
had
of
your own
Yelp Camp.
blueprint. Yeah.
Exactly, like you sell shoes or something, or
Yeah.
the Nike Camp or something different to
Yeah.
kind of add your twist to it. Maybe you could add a new model and
Yeah.
change things up a little bit. But I
Yeah.
totally agree with that.
I'm not saying like copy content post on your portfolio like at
Hmm.
all. Like yeah,
Yeah,
but when you're in the learning process, man, when
right,
it's in its infancy, it's okay to like people ask me what can I make? Like what should I build? Like build an Instagram clone, build a Spotify clone, just build something that already exists. And
right.
if you want to put it on your portfolio, add a unique twist to it. Like do something unique. Like for example, I made this chatting app, this stupid chatting app for Flutter,
Hmm.
and the unique spin I put on it is like there's these you can each chat room has a custom icon, and when you hit an icon, it sends that custom emote in the chat. It's the stupidest idea ever, but it's like my own little spin. And
Hmm.
me and my
Hmm.
girlfriend came up with it one night. So that's the thing.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think you kind of need to somewhat innovate a little bit as a junior or aspiring developer. I think if you're just constantly just following tutorials
You
all
got
the
yeah.
time,
Mhm.
there has to be that breakout point to what you were saying. Is like the copy is good, but you got to hit to that innovate state,
Mhm.
or you're just gonna get stuck in that tutorial hell
Exactly.
for sure. Yeah,
And you can't be afraid to throw yourself off the ledge.
yeah, that makes
You
sense.
you do it then, and then throw yourself in the deep end. Like when you're first learning, when you're looking for a job, when you want to do something that's scary, throw yourself in the deep end. You're either gonna sink or swim, and
Hmm.
the chances are you'll probably swim. And
Right. I mean,
if you sink, you'll learn from that.
yeah, and at the end of the day, I like to describe it like we're not saving lives here. I mean, we're not doctors, and we're not in surgery
Yes.
rooms.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just code. So, like, it's gonna
It
be
is.
okay. Yeah,
It
it's gonna be
is,
okay.
bro.
Yeah.
It
And
is.
sometimes I've seen so many people like
That's
stress
hilarious.
out and like slam their desk and like yell at the monitor. It's just crazy to me. It's like, dude, like it's all good, man. You're
Yeah.
gonna figure it
Yeah.
out. You're gonna figure it out tomorrow. Don't worry. Like, you take a day off or something at
You
the end.
know? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're under, like, tight deadlines, then it's like
Fair.
that anxiety of, like, losing your job or whatever. But even still, man, it doesn't matter. Like, you get fired from your company, like, you have 5 years of experience, you'll find
Yeah.
another job. You mentioned you quit your job. Uh,
Yeah.
what did you quit before getting a job at Amazon?
No, so I got my job first, or I got the offer and then I quit my job.
Oh,
But
okay, okay.
yeah, but I mean, we're kind of going off in a segue, but it's okay. I want to talk about for the deadline stuff. I think yeah, if there are deadlines that need to get done at this specific date, then you have no choice but to stress out a little bit. But what I like being about a software developer that can be more vocal and communicate your thoughts, I think you got to relate to your product manager or whoever is in charge, saying, "Hey, we can't get it done by this date. But if you
Oh,
want
yeah.
to get it done by this date, then I can only give you feature A and B. But C and D will come after, right? Like
Uh,
we'll give you like a light version, at least something that the
is it
consumer can use.
yeah. Is it that
But
easy?
it really is. And you can just
I
have the
struggle with that.
conversation.
I struggle with that so bad, man. Because
I
I
think,
want I wanna make everyone happy, but,
hmm but you
you
got to
know
be happy yourself, like in
yeah.
terms of like what you're giving to the user. So if you're gonna give them garbage A, B, C, and D features versus something that's really
Absolutely.
good, that's A and B, you're kind of negotiating with your product manager and whatnot, saying, and if you are a good developer that has always like delivered and know your stuff,
Mhm,
then they're going to respect you to know how to adjust your deadlines or know how to give your deadlines. So a lot of times at my old company, we would I would just say, hey, I could give you this in 2 weeks. I'll give you
mhm,
this other two stuff in the next 2 weeks. But if you want to show this one, then that's what we're gonna do. And they're like, okay, cool. Like they don't really ask me too many questions, but unless it's coming from like the CEO and then they're saying, hey, we have to get it done by this date because it's contract sensitive, and I'll say, okay, like I guess we'll just work harder now.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
other than that, it's not like it's I get it, but you don't want to me, you don't want to make yourself working 10 to 12 hours a norm. You have
mhm,
to, because whenever I code, I feel like I'm already coding at 100 to 120 miles per hour. But if you constantly do that for 8 to 12 hours straight, your brain is going to get fried and
oh,
you're not going to be
absolutely,
ready for the next day. So I think there's something about like mental health and just taking breaks that's super important. But obviously articulating those thoughts and into actual words and like letting your team know, because at the end of the day, you're a team. You're as a team, you need to get things done. So no one's trying to like fight against you with that. But I think sometimes developers are very like prideful, and they were saying like, "Oh, I can get it
Yeah.
done in 2 or whatever." But
Yeah.
I maybe that just comes with experience. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
I always try to like if I think I can do something in 2 weeks, I try to say like 3. So I like
just so you
I
get that wiggle room.
well, just so like when I get it done in 2, it's like it looks better. I
That's
and
no, that's super important too, because you're not. Yeah, you could get it done in 2 weeks, but like it could be very spaghetti code. You haven't tested it. It's just like, how fast can I get it done? Which is
yeah.
2 weeks. But if I want to give you a quality product, maybe it'll take 3. So,
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. And if like stuff really goes bad, like you have that extra
mhm,
buffer and you're chilling.
exactly,
So it's
exactly.
that's something I try to do. But so I think a lot of anxiety comes from when you do have those uncomfortable conversations like, hey, product manager or TM, we can't get this done in 3 weeks, right?
Hmm.
Um, but we can get it done in 5 weeks because we have all these features, or we can cut back on the features. When you have those uncomfortable conversations, I think a lot of anxiety stems from people like not pleasing their boss or losing their job or not getting that
Hmm.
raise.
Hmm.
And I think it goes back to being able to be confident in those situations is just recognizing your worth and knowing that if those worst case scenarios happen, which they never do, it's always worse
Right.
in your head.
Hmm.
But if they do, you know your worth and you know that, okay, well, I can find a company that actually will value my opinion and what I say. You
Right.
know.
Right. And I mean, there's something about being able to say no and doing it in a cordial way, a professional
Hmm.
way. You're not
Yeah.
you're not necessarily saying like, I don't want to do this. It's just being realistic with your timelines. And
Yeah.
I think having those adult conversations, I guess,
Yeah.
being with your bosses, and maybe they might not recognize it, so you gotta like teach them like why this is important. You could break it down like, to get this feature, it'll take about 3 to 4 days, and 2 days of
Yeah.
testing, that's already 6 days. So if we wanted to get this done in like a week and a half, we still need to
Yeah.
do other like feature B, C, and D. So there's just like different ways to break it down, and I found it useful to be more open and communicative about things rather than just waiting to the last. Oh, that's what PMs really hate, is when you don't say anything to the last
Mm,
minute and it's like a day before it's due and saying you can't get it done.
yeah.
They get so frustrated. So that's the thing I learned. Actually, I personally never done it. I just seen other people do it, and
Yeah.
it's just crazy. But actually, I do want to leave some time for you to ask me a question, and then we can kind of close out with the ending theme if you have anything for me.
Let me think. I think I've asked you a lot of questions as we went.
I
Um,
know, but maybe we'll make this the official question.
do you recommend going to a code boot camp? Because I get people ask me all the time, like, should I go to a
Mm.
code boot camp? And I don't know, man, because I never have been. So would you recommend it?
This is a very loaded question too, and as someone that's I look, I can't deny that going to a coding bootcamp back in 2015 really changed my life, because I literally didn't have any tangible skills
Hmm.
to really get a new job, but a coding bootcamp really helped like jumpstart my career into software development. And here I am, going from like knowing no code to now working at Amazon at a FANG company. But it is 2021. That's 6 years after I've graduated. So I'm not
Yeah.
a junior developer candidate. I'm not applying to junior developer roles.
Yeah.
So I do struggle with recommending coding boot camps, especially because it's a all virtual experience at the moment. So that makes it very difficult, because for me, coding bootcamp was all about physically going somewhere and like learning from the teachers and whatnot. But
Absolutely.
ultimately, I would say I wouldn't say that all coding bootcamps are equal. You have to really do your research. So some coding bootcamps I would recommend, because I've just kind of done enough research where, like, what's the point of this coding bootcamp? A coding bootcamp to me is not just there to teach you how to code. They're there to get you a job. So through coding, essentially. So like
Hmm.
ultimately, I would ask these questions like, am I building projects? Am I building a portfolio site
Mm.
as part of your curriculum? Is there a career service team that's helping me after I graduate? Do you just throw me away after I finish graduating, or is there some kind of accountability after I graduate to make sure I succeed, right? So if you don't ask those type of questions before you attend that coding bootcamp, then like you don't really know what's going to happen at the end. You paid like $15,000, right? So
Yeah,
I
that's a
think,
good point. I
yeah.
guess I haven't thought of it like that. So basically, what you're saying is you want to make sure that they're going to prepare you enough
Hmm.
when you graduate.
Yeah, you can't just kind of close your eyes and be like, if I throw money at you,
Uh,
a
okay.
software developer. Like some coding boot camps, they just have gone, hey, they've gone kind of downhill, and some are just
Yeah,
going up. Some are going up, some are going down. But I don't know. I'm not sure if like a lot of these coding boot camps have adapted fully to virtual. So that's
yeah.
also another thing. Yeah,
Okay, I'll keep that in mind for
yeah,
the future.
yeah. Cool. And all right, so let's close this out a little bit. And for you, I mean, for everyone, actually, I like to close with like an ending theme. And to me, I see a lot of your content, creativity, and evolution on your channel. And I think it's just like a perfect example of someone that is like maybe not making that huge improvement from day one to day two, but
Hmm.
it's like this constant iteration of just improving one day at a time.
Mm.
And I know it's kind of hard to explain like grit or like motivation, but what advice would you give struggling and aspiring developers who want to break into this space?
Yeah, man. One, like I said, imitate before you innovate when learning anything new. But
Mm,
two, um, yeah, like you said, you just gotta take it one day at a time and just learn something new every day because like it it feels like you aren't learning a lot, but it adds up quick. And then you one day you'll look back and be like, oh, holy crap. I learned so much. So yeah, you got to take it one day at a time. You got to relax. You got to understand that you're not going to fully understand everything right away. Just got to take it easy. And like you said, you're not a doctor. It's code. It's not that big of a deal, So
yeah.
yeah, always work on yourself too. Always work on yourself. And I
Yeah.
think
I mean,
taking care of your physical and mental health are very important too as a dev. So
yeah. I mean, you couldn't have said it better. I couldn't have really said it about myself. So I think that's a really good advice. And I really like that imitate. What was it again? Imitation. Wait, before
imi-
innovation?
imitate before you innovate. Someone told me that a while ago.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I'm gonna keep that in my Rolodex. So, I mean, before I close, are there any plugs you want to squeeze? And if anyone wants to reach out to you or send you a message, what would be the best way to contact you?
Yeah, buy my new coding course. It's only 5 grand.
You got to show your Lambo in the back as well,
Yeah,
in your
no.
small Chicago apartment.
I'm kidding. YouTube.com/Kenny Gunderman. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. No plugs.
Oh, awesome.
I don't,
Well,
I, I don't have much to plug. Just go to my YouTube channel.
you don't have a Twitter or anything?
I do, but I just I hate tweeting. I just don't. I don't know what to say.
Fair enough. Fair
You know
enough.
what I mean?
Well, thank you for coming on, Kenny. It was super fun chatting with you about both like content creation and your coding journey. I really love to have you on again sometime in the future because I feel like I could
Absolutely.
just talk to you for hours and hours without even recording. But for those of you watching, I hope you enjoyed the episode and I'll see you in the next one. Tech Rally out.
See, man. Thank you so much again.